y'all. We got a little overzealous on our puzzle this year, our Christmas puzzle. We so loved putting a puzzle out at Thanksgiving and doing it with our family that we thought, let's do this again on Christmas. But we had far fewer people for our Christmas gathering. My dad wasn't here, and turns out he kind of carried us on Thanksgiving. We got that 750 piece puzzle done really fast. And so that's why this year we're like, let's do 1,000. It's the day after Christmas, and it's about 3/4 done. Jeremiah and I will probably finish it tonight. So, the day after Christmas. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful holiday. For those of you that celebrate Christmas, it's definitely a highlight of the year for me. We had a really sweet time. We had our fancy Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve, which is where Jeremiah and I cook a very, very nice meal, and everybody in our house dresses up and we serve our kids a fancy dinner party. And it's such a sweet tradition for us. I love it so much. And of course yesterday we had a really restful Christmas. It was really fun hanging out with the kids. And today I woke up with so much excitement because now is when I start really thinking about gardening. So here we just got the soil in these garden beds here in front of our house, and I have plants to put in these from my friend Matthew that he sent with me. It's been 3 months ago now that I went and visited him in Ohio. And I've got all the irises, which were sent in to me by all of you guys several months ago when we moved here, that I have put in a bunch of pots and stuff. And I'm going to be putting them here in front of the house for now. Eventually they'll be down by the pond, but this is the garden space I have prepared. So that's what we're going to put in it for now. And I'll worry about like the permanent landscaping up here later. I'll move everything out and put what I'm going to there. Now another thing that I have to do that's on the priority list this week is my friend Cass brought me all of these strawberry plants, and I've been keeping them wet in here deciding what I wanted to do with them. She and her husband, we met locally, actually at an Azure Standard pickup, but they watched our channel. They have a YouTube channel called Say Mojo Homestead, which is like the first letters of their kids' names make up Say Mojo, which is really cute. And we've become friends with them, and she was over here the other day. Her kids and my kids just play great together. And she brought me all those strawberries, which I had kind of considered putting some more in the green stalks, but a few of the strawberries, which I thought were goners, are starting to grow little sprouts. So I'm not going to put anything else in these. I'm going to give those time, and hopefully more of them will come back. But these Brussels sprouts that the turkeys had eaten down to almost nothing, they're looking pretty rough. And so I'm thinking I'm going to plant the strawberries all around here. I'll leave the Brussels sprouts. If they take off, great. And if not, the strawberries can kind of just take over. And I'm just going to let this bed be a strawberry bed. Over here though, the cabbages that the turkeys destroyed, they're coming back pretty strong. And I bet these actually do head up before it gets too warm in the spring. So it's kind of my little tradition that the week after Christmas is when I really kind of shift gears and start really thinking about the garden. Now, that's not strictly necessary. I don't actually have to start any seeds until like February, but it helps me because I tend to get a little bit bummed out in the gray winter as I say that. South Carolina is really just turning out not to be that gray. Look at this. This is crazy. How green and lush this is. It's the end of December. I just can't even believe it. Nonetheless, in years past, Christmas is kind of like the thing I look forward to. And then when it's over, it's just like, oh, bummer, now it's just winter. Makes me think of Narnia. It's always winter and never Christmas. After that period after Christmas is over, it's rough for me. And what helps me during that is planning the garden. I've actually got a handful of seed orders that I haven't even opened yet and gone through because I was waiting to make videos about it and all that stuff. But before Christmas, I'm just not in the headspace to do that. So all of that is coming. And I'm really planning what sections of this garden I'm going to focus on first. There's this really beautiful tension, I will say, that we gardeners must learn to thrive in. And it's the place between wanting to have a plan, and there are so many beautiful resources for planning a garden. There are programs online. If you search online garden planning, digital garden planning, any of that stuff, there are programs and apps and like different things that you can use to map out your beds, to map out your garden rows, and like little things you can plug in to show different plants and stuff like that. But there's also the fact that we're dealing with something organic, and while a really rigid plan can be good to help with your expectations and to know what you need to start when, what you need to do, what kind of yield you can hope for, it is a living thing. It's not like you're making a building plan that, I mean, you could make your raised bed building plan and you can plan what things you're going to plant in it, but there's just really no guarantee that it's going to grow the way that you anticipate. I like making a plan. I think it's good, and I do that. However, there is kind of this artistic side of gardening, this organic and artistic side of gardening, that you kind of have to be willing to just roll with it. And today I was talking to my dad, and he was talking about building houses and how, like, the really cool thing about having a property that's yours is that you've always got something to do, because you can make improvements and you can kind of treat it like a hobby, and if there are things that you don't like, you can change them. And over the course of years, what he was saying is you create something that's really cool and uniquely yours, kind of discussing the garden. And it's been something that I've had to deal with in leaving our old property, and I see it thriving. My friend Jill is doing a beautiful job and is growing so much food, and I love seeing that. I love seeing them make that space their own, and they're going to make it unique, changing things and tweaking things and, you know, doing things differently year after year. But you can't expect in the first year of doing something to have what will be essentially what's uniquely yours 10 years down the road. I mean, things are going to grow and develop. And so right now, I'm kind of in that beautiful tension of, okay, let's make a plan. Let's be willing to roll with it. Let's know that over the course of years, we're going to say, oh, I didn't really like how that turned out, or I think this would be better. We're going to change things. And right now, there's no pressure whenever you're planning your garden to make it exactly right. The goal is to just do the best you can this year, knowing that there's always room to change things in the future. And that's what I'm really embracing right now. And I don't know, something about having that conversation really sort of freed me. And I'm viewing my garden rather than this whole big garden belt that we're doing, this whole side of this driveway. This is about, what is it? I mean, I need to get on Google Earth and like really map it out to know exactly how many square feet this is. It's a lot of space. It's probably close to an acre. And I've been envisioning like the whole thing, trying to figure out where everything goes. And I think I'm gonna stop that and sort of start with just the section. So like I'm gonna do this raised bed potager section here, and we're gonna put this driveway in that goes back to our barn, which I'm gonna go show you guys. You can see it a little bit, but yeah, driveway out here. And I'm gonna have like this beautiful raised bed section on either side of this drive. And I think that is gonna be my primary goal to plan and start putting in action right now, because we're getting our greenhouses worked on, and that's obviously also going to need to be planned and utilized. You know, I tell you guys things like make a 5-year plan and don't try to do everything at once, and know that it's going to grow organically. And then I find myself in these really pesky situations where I have to practice what I preach. It's infuriating. This chain is tangled up. In all truth, there's no real rush for me to get all of this done at once. I know we're gonna get a ton done, but I do have to remind myself, it took us 4 years to build our old garden in phases. We built that garden over the course of 4 years, and that was a fifth of the size that this is going to be. So I know that this is going to take a little while, and although we are moving fast on this property, focusing on one section at a time is a good way to do it. So I will do a dedicated video on garden planning. I've got some out there, but I'll do some more this spring as I make my plan so that it's not like buried in a vlog where you can't reference it. But for those of you who are like me and like to jump into thinking about the garden as soon as Christmas is over, I encourage you to do a few things. One, grow what your family eats. While you're making your garden plan right now, really think about what it takes to fill out a plate for a meal for your family. Because while I'm all for things like little snacking cherry tomatoes and cucamelons and all of the lovely little things you can snack on in the garden, and I love growing those things, if that's the bulk of what you're growing, you have to think, okay, I'm going to be replacing snacks, not necessarily meals. So think about what you like to cook with, what you know how to cook with. Think about what you're buying at the store. Are you regularly buying salad greens? Are you buying cabbages? Are you buying, you know, the little containers of tomatoes or peppers? Or what is it that you find yourself using the most of? That's definitely what you need to put at the top of your priority list. But I also encourage people not to stop there. I'm very popular right now in the goat yard, and they're gonna start climbing up here with me. And while I do encourage you to start at that place, definitely prioritize that place. Don't stop there. Now, I also want you guys to challenge yourself. I have a goat camera crew right now. Hey there, I'm not talking about goats. I'm talking about gardens. What are you doing? Some of these goats are starting to look really pregnant. We should be getting into kidding in about 9 weeks. Well, the kidding will start, which is really nice that we're gonna have this barn done. What I was saying, do challenge yourself. It is really easy to get wooed by the pages of a seed catalog, fair warning. It's also really easy to get wooed by the stuff I say about gardening. Oh, I've had a lot of people be like, oh, you said grow this, but I'm not really a fan of that. You might not be. I like a lot of things. I am not a picky eater. I really haven't met a lot of vegetables that I don't like. Everybody in my house does not eat everything that I grow, but I will eat pretty much anything that I grow. So do keep that in mind. Grow some of the things that are fascinating to you. I fully suggest that you grow some of the things that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Like if you can't go buy it in the store, that's a great motivator, because you've probably heard me tell this story before if you've been around for a while, but like I nearly gave up gardening over some yellow squash that was like 90 cents a pound in the grocery store because I had been working all morning on squash and got to the store and realized that I had spent literally like 3 hours of my morning hand picking bugs off to save like a few bucks worth of squash. So I find it to be a great motivator to grow something that fascinates you. However, don't fill your garden with that stuff, because you will lose motivation if you start harvesting stuff and you don't know what to do with it. So definitely bulk up the priority with the things you know you'll use and you know how to use, but stretch yourself to grow some things that you have to learn. Like I love roasting radishes. I had never eaten radishes really until I grew them. Maybe like a few slices occasionally from the taco truck that came with the tacos, but I had never really eaten radishes substantially. But we grow a lot of them now, and we will harvest, I don't know, 40 at once, quarter them, and put oil and salt and pepper on them and roast them in a 400-degree oven. Everybody in my family will eat those. They really mellow out. Same thing with beets. We had never really eaten a lot of beets until I grew them, and I've challenged myself to learn to cook those eggplants. I had not cooked a lot of eggplant until I grew them. Again, challenged myself to learn how to cook those. And I have grown as a home cook. My kids have grown in trying new things. Do you see this camera shake? Gardens, not goats. I'm not talking about goats, Magdalene. Oh, my precious love. Look at this little angel. She's a sweet baby. That's all you needed, isn't it? See, I gotta do dedicated garden planning videos. So you guys who don't care about keeping goats get the information. That's what I get for trying to do it out here. Truly though, I know that seems like a simple thing. Hey, mostly grow the stuff you know you'll eat, but please don't end there. Push yourself, learn, try new things, put something in your garden that's a motivator, that fascinates you, that interests you. Grow the streaky eggplant, grow the purple tomato. I'm always going to say that because truly that's what made me a gardener, was those things. And it has made me a more adventurous cook. It's made my family more adventurous in eating. And it just brings a lot of joy to the garden and health by offering variety. A variety in your garden is really healthy. I came out to show you this, and I better do it before I run out of light. This is the start of our beautiful barn. Can you believe this? It's so legit. So I need to have Maya, I probably need his input here before I try to tell y'all what this is space-wise. I'm pretty sure that it's 40 by 60, the main part, and then we did a lean-to over here that's another 12 feet. I may correct that in a later video, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And you can see here that they've started, this is where there will be doors that come from inside these stalls to out here. And so you can tell where it is, like right there is the driveway into our property. There's the big pond. And so the drive is going to come around here where the garden belt is and go down. And there's our house, our manufactured home. And then we're going to put the workshop next to it. Eventually, when we build a house, it'll be right up here. Like 3 of you grasped that. The rest of you are like me and you're like, what? I actually did not have a grid for how big this was gonna be. I'm usually pretty good at guessing spaces. I've told y'all my trick before. I measure in dads. I just imagine my dad in that space and however many of him it would take to fill it up. And I'm pretty good, but I'll tell you that this farm has completely messed up my track record for being right on stuff like that, because this is such a big open space. This is 27 acres, but though it's rolling hills, you can kind of see from one side to the other, and it makes it feel so much, you think it's smaller. But when you start walking this property on foot, you're like, oh, this is actually really big. And this barn, when I was standing on the pad in this big open field, it did not feel this big until they started putting the structure up. So I'll give you guys a tour once there's more here, which will be this week. They said they'll have it all the way up in 3 days. It is gonna have a dirt floor. We opted to do a dirt floor. It was already more expensive because we did hire this out, and doing the dirt floor and building the stalls and everything inside saved us a lot of money on this. Maya's plan is to keep the floor dirt in the stalls and in the middle, but over here, this stall he's gonna frame up and pour concrete that can drain out, and put a drain that goes underneath the wall there, because this is going to be kind of like a milk processing room, and the door out here will go to a place in the lean-to. We're going to build our stanchion and everything to milk the cows right outside, and that way we can set up a sink here. We're going to put a little tankless water heater where we can keep all of our straining stuff, all of our milk stuff, and our milk machine once we get one out here in the barn. That way we're not lugging stuff back and forth from the house. And it'll give me a little more space in my kitchen, because that stuff just takes up so much space. And then on the other side, in this little stall, he's gonna frame it up, pour a concrete pad, and seal it so this can be feed storage. And then the rest of this, it's gonna be 4 12 by 12 stalls on each side. And that's where we're going to put like a goat that is nearly in labor, where we'll brood chick. And on this side, where the doors go outside, there will be outside stalls. Hello, Gabriel. Hello, little darling. And the outside stall, the stalls that have the outside stalls will be just good for if we, you know, have a baby animal we're keeping, or if we need a hospital, you know, do a hospital for an animal where they can have some outside space. So we're not focusing on any like people space or a lot of storage space in this barn. This barn is really primarily going to be for animals, keeping animals, and some of the stuff that we need for animals. And I'll tell you that this has been such a dream come true, watching this get started and knowing that it's going to be here. I've dreamed of having a big red barn for so long, and you really don't have to have a big barn to have a farm. Our animals have shelter. We have these other structures that were here. They weren't in super great shape, but we did fix them up enough that they would provide shelter for the animals to keep them dry. While you don't have to have a barn to have a homestead, you can definitely get by with smaller structures, and in a lot of cases that might even be the most feasible. It might even be what's best for your property if you don't have a big space. Obviously you don't need a massive barn. But when I was a little girl, I wanted a homestead. And I always imagined this big red barn. So it's like definitely a point of fulfillment to me. And it is definitely gonna be nicer. It's gonna provide a lot of convenience, like I said. Like when we have goats kidding, being able to put them in all of these different stalls. And overall, it's just gonna be so nice to be able to keep all of our like medical supplies and all the milking stuff and all the feed and have everything centrally located right there. You gonna stay out there? He's like, just leave me with my goats and I'll be happy. So that will be a lot of progress we made about. They did all of that in one day. They worked late. I mean, they did a really long day, I guess, so, you know, with their boss, so they didn't have to work on Christmas Eve. They had worked that out. But I was shocked. Like, we came home and saw that. We'd been gone for most of the afternoon. And we were like, wow. We're definitely not used to hiring out jobs like this. We've always done things ourselves. And we made the decision to hire this out so that we could get it done in time for the cold and for kidding season and now calving and all of that stuff, so that we wouldn't have to make do with our current structures during that. This is definitely better for stuff like that. We were just completely blown away. I told Maya, isn't it nice to get major progress done like that and it not be connected to being absolutely exhausted? It's really nice. All the next structures we're doing ourselves, so that time is coming. Hey Toby, what's up, man?
Hello.
I was just about to sign off. It's almost dark out here. You want to say goodbye with me?
Yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We bless you. Until next time.